Have you ever felt like you had to work extra hard just to be loved? Like you were constantly walking on eggshells, afraid that if you stopped trying they'd leave? You're not alone. This audiobook is for the ones who stayed too long. The ones who begged, compromised, and shrunk themselves just to be chosen, only to be left empty. This is your healing. This is your breakthrough. Welcome. In today's audiobook we will be discussing Stop Begging to Be Loved. Heal your self-worth and attract better relationships. An audiobook written by a Each chapter will guide you through the unspoken wounds that make you chase, cling, or collapse in relationships. And more importantly, how to reclaim your worth. So find a quiet space. Breathe. Let's begin. Chapter 1. Why you chase people who don't choose you. Have you ever found yourself clinging to someone who was drifting away? Checking your phone every few minutes for a reply that never comes. Convincing yourself, maybe if I just try harder they'll finally choose me. You don't chase because you're desperate. You chase because somewhere deep down your nervous system has been trained to believe love must be earned. Let's get to the root of this. Let's use a story of a young woman named Maya as an example. She was a confident, smart woman in her early 30s living in London. She had a good job, close friends, and a bright smile, the kind that made people feel warm. But when it came to relationships, something always broke down. She would find herself drawn to emotionally unavailable partners, people who were hot one day and cold the next. One guy she dated ghosted her for 3 weeks and returned with a simple, "Hey." Instead of blocking him, she replied, hoping he'd come around this time. Why? Because Maya wasn't chasing him. She was chasing validation. She was chasing that feeling of finally being enough for someone who didn't value her the first time. What's really going on? This pattern, chasing people who don't choose you, is rarely about them. It's about your inner child. When love feels inconsistent in childhood, when affection was earned, not given, your brain forms a dangerous equation. Love equals performance plus pain. You start to believe that being loved means chasing, fixing, rescuing, waiting, proving. Maybe you had a parent who only showed warmth when you succeeded. Or a caregiver who made you feel like you had to behave perfectly to get attention. So as an adult, someone emotionally unavailable doesn't scare you. It feels familiar. You're not being foolish. You're reenacting the past. Your inner child still believes that if you just try hard enough, the love you crave will finally come. Just in the case of Sam. Sam is a 34-year-old marketing manager in California, who shared a painful realization during therapy. His relationships all looked the same. He'd meet someone exciting. They'd seem interested at first. But over time they'd start pulling away, texting less, making excuses, avoiding commitment. Instead of walking away, Sam would double down, planning romantic dates, writing long emotional messages, buying gifts. But nothing worked. Eventually they'd leave and he'd be left with the question, why am I never enough? It took deep inner work to realize this. He wasn't trying to build love. He was trying to prove his worth. Let's be honest. It hurts when someone you love doesn't choose you. But it hurts even more when you betray yourself trying to convince them. When you chase someone who doesn't choose you, you abandon your own boundaries. You accept breadcrumbs. You ignore your intuition. Every time you say, maybe they'll change, you whisper to yourself, I don't deserve more. But here's a truth you may not have heard often enough. The right person won't make you chase. The right love won't feel like a test. Do this for a healing reflection. Pause for a moment. Ask yourself, why am I chasing people who don't choose me? Is it really about this person? Or is it about proving your worth to someone long gone? Healing begins when you stop trying to convince others of your value and start reminding yourself that you never had to beg to be loved. And do this healing affirmations. Repeat gently to yourself. I do not have to chase love to be worthy of it. I release the need to prove my worth. I am already enough, even when someone walks away. If this chapter opens something inside you, don't walk this healing journey alone. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and keep listening. The next chapter explores something even deeper. The root of your need for validation. You'll finally understand why you crave approval and how to break free. Chapter 2. The root of your need for validation. Validation feels like oxygen when you've been taught to hold your breath for love. Let's talk about that aching need, the one that drives you to overthink every message, over-apologize, and wonder what you did wrong the moment someone pulls away. Why do you feel so anxious when someone doesn't respond right away? Why do you feel like you're too much and never enough all at once? The truth is, it's not about being needy. It's about being wounded. Let's go to the root. Nura's silence spiral. Nura is a 28-year-old woman living in Istanbul. She's warm, creative, and deeply empathetic. But every time she starts dating someone, she transforms into a different version of herself. Anxious, hypervigilant, desperate to be liked. One night, after sharing something personal, her date didn't reply for 5 hours. Nura spiraled. She reread the last text 17 times. She began rewriting responses she never sent. She convinced herself she had scared him away, all because he didn't immediately validate her vulnerability. But what Nura didn't realize in that moment was this. She wasn't afraid of losing him. She was afraid of being unseen, unheard, and unloved. Again. The psychological roots of this is a childhood echoes. When we are children, our sense of self is shaped by how we are mirrored by our caregivers. If your parents consistently praised your thoughts, validated your feelings, and saw you as worthy, you grow up internalizing that. But many people didn't have that. As it may be. Your emotions were dismissed. Stop crying. You're too sensitive. Your successes were minimized. Anyone can do that. Try harder. Your voice was ignored altogether. When this happens, we begin to doubt the very foundation of our worth. We learn that to be accepted, we must perform, please, or pretend. So as adults, every interaction becomes a test. And when someone doesn't immediately affirm us, our inner child panics. I must have done something wrong. This is the root of the need for validation. It's not about being too emotional. It's about a nervous system wired to seek safety through approval. Let's use this young man named Marcus as a case study as well. Marcus and the meeting that broke him. He is a 40-year-old executive in Singapore. At work, he was known for being composed and precise. But inside he was crumbling. One day, after a major presentation, his boss gave no feedback. Just nodded and moved on. No, good job. No, well done. Nothing. Marcus didn't sleep that night. He obsessed over the possibility that he disappointed someone. But it wasn't just about that meeting. It was about never feeling good enough growing up. He shared that his father was a military man who only acknowledged achievement when it exceeded perfection. Anything less was a failure. So Marcus, even as a grown man, still felt like a little boy trying to earn a nod of approval that never came. The truth bomb is, external validation is never enough. Here's the hard truth. Validation is beautiful. But when it becomes a craving, it becomes a cage. Why? Because the more you rely on others to tell you you're enough, the more powerless you feel when they don't. The absence of praise feels like rejection. A neutral expression feels like disapproval. A delayed text feels like abandonment. This isn't love. This is survival mode. Your self-worth becomes fragile, built on sand instead of stone. Here is a healing tools and reflections for you. To heal the need for validation, you have to reparent yourself. That means acknowledging your own emotions before anyone else does. Celebrating your small wins without waiting for applause. Asking yourself, what do I want to feel, instead of what do they think of me? Here are 3 small ways to start. Mirror work. Each morning, look into the mirror and affirm, I see you. I accept you. You are enough. Praise journal. Write down 3 things you're proud of daily, even if no one else saw them. Pause before seeking approval. The next time you want to send a long message just to feel reassured, ask, can I give this reassurance to myself first? Here is a healing affirmations. Speak these softly or write them down. I do not need to be validated to be valuable. My worth is not determined by someone else's reaction. I am learning to feel safe in my own love. A gentle reminder. You're not broken for wanting to be seen. You're just healing the part of you that was once invisible. Validation is not wrong, but it cannot be your foundation. You are allowed to need love, but you are also allowed to give it to yourself first. If this chapter helped you understand yourself better, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. You're not just listening, you're evolving. Up next is one of the most important chapters. You attract what you think you deserve. We'll uncover how your subconscious beliefs shape who you choose, and how to raise your standards without guilt. Chapter 3. You attract what you think you deserve. Let's pause for a moment and ask a question most people never dare to confront. What kind of love do you believe you deserve? Not the kind you say you want. Not the one you post quotes about. But the love your subconscious accepts. The love you tolerate when no one's watching. Because the truth is simple and painful. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you believe you're worthy of. Let's look into Sophia's story. Sophia lived in São Paulo, Brazil. She was beautiful, kind-hearted, and emotionally generous. But time after time she ended up with partners who either cheated, manipulated her, or refused to commit. At first she thought it was just bad luck. All the good ones are taken, she'd say. But after her third heartbreak something clicked. She realized every time she felt loved, it came with fear, anxiety, waiting for the other shoe to drop. Because deep down she didn't trust love that felt safe. She felt drawn to chaos because that's where she thought love lived. Her heartbreaks weren't just patterns. They were mirrors. Let's talk subconscious programming. You've heard the phrase, know your worth. But here's the thing. Most of us don't consciously know our worth. We operate from subconscious beliefs planted in childhood. If you grew up hearing, you're too emotional, you'll never find someone like them again. You have to be perfect to be loved. Then love becomes something you earn through performance, silence, or self-abandonment. Your subconscious becomes a script. And that script determines who you pick, who you chase, and what you accept. That's why someone can treat you poorly, and you still stay. Because the treatment may be painful, but it feels familiar. And to your unhealed self, familiar equals safe. In a case of a young man named Tariq. He was a financial analyst in Dubai. Sharp, disciplined, and successful in every area except relationships. He constantly dated partners who were emotionally unavailable or overly critical. Even when he met someone kind and supportive, he'd sabotage it, ghost them, start arguments, or pull away emotionally. When asked why, he admitted something honest. I feel uncomfortable when someone treats me too well. Like I don't deserve it. This is what happens when your internal identity doesn't match external love. You'll either reject it, or you'll bend until you're small enough to feel worthy of it. Here's the hard truth. Your relationship patterns are often a reflection of your inner thermostat. You might say, I want someone who treats me with respect. But deep down you don't believe you're worthy of that respect. You'll unconsciously settle for less. We accept the love we think we deserve. That's why healing isn't just about learning to walk away. It's about learning to believe deep in your bones that you are worthy of more, even when your past says otherwise. A healing work, resetting the thermostat. Here's a small but powerful exercise. Write down 3 qualities you want in a partner. Then ask yourself, do I give those qualities to myself? If you want someone consistent, are you consistent with yourself? If you want someone to respect your boundaries, do you enforce your own? If you want someone who sees your value, do you speak to yourself with kindness? Because we don't just attract what we feel about others. We attract what we tolerate within ourselves. Real insight, from worth to standards. There's a difference between wanting more and believing you deserve more. Wanting more will keep you in toxic cycles. Hoping, praying, begging. Believing you deserve more will help you walk away in silence and peace. When you believe in your worth, you stop chasing mixed signals. You lose attraction to emotionally unavailable people. You no longer see someone's inconsistency as a challenge. You see it for what it is: misalignment. Here is an affirmations for deserving love. Say this with intention, aloud or in your heart. I am worthy of love that's peaceful, present, and honest. I attract what aligns with my healing, not my wounds. I no longer shrink to be chosen. I rise to be met. If this chapter sparked something in you, even if it was a sting of truth, then stay with us. This journey isn't just about recognizing toxic patterns. It's about reprogramming your life. So hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and don't stop here. In the next chapter, we're diving into something many people normalize without realizing the damage. Love shouldn't hurt all the time. Chapter 4. Love shouldn't hurt all the time. Some people say, real love is hard. But too often what they really mean is, love should be painful, dramatic, and confusing. They think love should be tested through suffering, that the deeper the pain, the more meaningful the love. But here's the truth. Real love doesn't keep you guessing. It doesn't make you feel small. And it should never hurt all the time. Let's use Amir's pattern of pain. Amir, a young man in the UAE, shared something powerful with his counselor. He said, I've never known a relationship that didn't involve pain. My parents fought every day. My dad cheated. My mom cried herself to sleep. That's what I saw growing up, but they called it love. So I thought I was supposed to suffer too. Every relationship Amir entered followed that blueprint. He'd attract partners who love-bombed him in the beginning and then slowly eroded his peace. He didn't walk away because on some subconscious level the chaos felt like home. But one day he asked himself the question that would change everything. What if love doesn't have to hurt? What's really going on? Let's break this down. When you grow up watching unstable, conditional love, especially in childhood or early relationships, your nervous system wires itself to accept that love is chaotic. You don't just fall for a person, you fall for a pattern. You crave the highs but tolerate the lows. You confuse anxiety for chemistry. And instead of asking, does this feel safe? You ask, can I fix this? If you've ever felt addicted to someone who constantly hurts you, it's not because you're weak. It's because your body and brain are addicted to hope. You keep remembering the good days and holding on to them like a lifeline. You believe that if you just love harder, give more, or stay longer, they'll change. But real love shouldn't feel like you're walking on glass. A real-life case study. Elena's exhaustion. Elena, a 26-year-old graduate student in Argentina, had been dating Javier for 3 years. He was charming, spontaneous, and magnetic in public. But behind closed doors he often shut down emotionally. One day he was obsessed with her. The next he'd ignore her texts for hours. If she cried, he called her dramatic. If she asked for reassurance, he rolled his eyes and said, "You're too sensitive." Till she stayed. Because when it was good, it was amazing. And when it was bad, she convinced herself that's just what love was supposed to feel like. Until one day she collapsed in the bathroom floor of her apartment after another fight. Not because of what he said, but because she was just tired. Not tired of loving. Tired of fighting to feel loved. Let's be honest. Movies romanticize love that's dramatic. Social media glorifies the struggle, the chaos, the push-pull. But here's a radical truth. Stability is not boring. Safe. If you've never experienced calm, consistent, healthy love, you might mistake it for a lack of passion. You might even run from the very thing you need. Someone who chooses you daily without conditions, without chaos, without confusion. Real love doesn't trigger your abandonment wound over and over. Doesn't use silence as punishment. Doesn't make you apologize for having needs. Doesn't make you feel like you have to shrink to be tolerated. Love that constantly leaves you anxious, afraid, or unsure is not love. It's emotional survival. Here is a healing reframe. You are not too much. You are not asking for too much. You are just asking the wrong person. You are allowed to outgrow love that taught you to break yourself to belong. Here is a healing takeaways. Let's rewrite what love is supposed to feel like. Love is clarity, not confusion. Love is consistency, not chaos. Love is safe, not scary. Love is mutual, not one-sided. When you start believing this, something powerful happens. You stop accepting pain as proof of love. You stop staying where your peace is constantly disturbed. And for the first time, you start choosing yourself. Gentle challenge. Take inventory. Ask yourself, does this relationship bring more peace or more anxiety? Do I feel seen and safe? Or do I feel like I'm constantly proving my worth? If I had a daughter or son, would I want them in a love like mine? Because the way you love yourself teaches others how to love you. Here is a healing affirmations. Say these gently and let them sink in. Love should not cost me my peace. I deserve a love that feels safe and whole. I am done mistaking pain for passion. I release the belief that love must hurt. If this chapter cracks something open in your heart, take a breath. You're healing. Subscribe and let's continue this journey together. The next chapter is just as important. Detaching without becoming cold. You'll learn how to let go of toxic dynamics without losing your soft, loving self. Chapter 5. Detaching without becoming cold. Let's be honest. Detaching from someone you care about is one of the hardest things you'll ever have to do. Not because you're weak, but because your heart was all in. And yet, there comes a moment in every healing journey when you realize that holding on is hurting more than letting go. You don't want to hate them. You don't want to be bitter. But you also don't want to feel like you're losing yourself just to keep someone else. This is where detachment becomes your medicine. Not coldness. Not cruelty. But peaceful separation. Loving from afar. Releasing the outcome. Let's use a story of a young woman named Bella who is at her breaking point as an example. Bella was the kind of woman who gave everything. She was living in Melbourne, Australia, working as a creative director, and in a relationship that looked perfect from the outside. Her partner, Josh, wasn't abusive, but he was emotionally unavailable. He never said, "I love you" first. He dismissed her feelings as too much. And every time she tried to talk, he'd say, "You're being dramatic." Bella stayed for 2 years, telling herself, "If I'm patient enough, maybe he'll change." She wasn't asking for too much. She was just asking for the bare minimum: presence, partnership, empathy. One day she sat across from him at dinner and realized something painful. "I don't feel safe with the person I love the most." That was her breaking point, and it was also her awakening. The psychology of detachment. We've been taught to believe that letting go equals giving up. That detachment means you've stopped caring. But healthy detachment is the opposite of coldness. It's clarity. It means you no longer beg for bare minimum effort. You stop chasing the potential of who someone could be. You protect your energy instead of proving your worth. Psychologically, detachment is a skill rooted in self-regulation. When you detach, you stop placing your peace in someone else's hands. You stop reacting emotionally to their inconsistency and start responding to your own needs. You're not abandoning them. You're finally choosing you. Real-life case study. Frank from England. Frank, a university professor in England, shared something powerful in a healing circle. He said, "I used to think being a good man meant staying in painful relationships. I didn't want to look like the bad guy." His girlfriend had cheated on him twice. She'd apologize, cry, and promise to change. He'd forgive, again and again, hoping his love would be enough to save them. But deep inside he was dying. He lost weight. He lost his laughter. He stopped writing. One night he looked in the mirror and said, "I miss myself." So he walked away. Not because he hated her, but because he couldn't keep abandoning himself to love her. That's detachment. Let's be honest. People will call you cold when you stop tolerating what wounds you. They will say you've changed when you begin setting boundaries. They will label your silence as bitterness, when really it's freedom. Here's what no one tells you. You can love someone deeply and still choose to walk away. You can care without controlling. You can wish them well without staying. You can let go without becoming hard. Here is a healing reflection. Ask yourself gently, am I staying because of love, or because I'm afraid of being alone? Do I feel lighter or heavier around them? Do I feel seen, heard, and safe? If you keep shrinking to fit into someone's comfort zone, it's time to detach with dignity. You don't owe anyone your peace. Here is a healing affirmations. Say these aloud or in your heart. I can love and still let go. I choose peace over emotional chaos. I detach not because I'm heartless, but because I finally love myself enough to walk away. Did this chapter touch a place in your heart? Then you're healing. And you're not alone. Subscribe and turn on notifications, because the next chapter will help you build something powerful. Building boundaries without walls. You'll learn how to protect your peace without pushing away love. Chapter 6. Building boundaries without walls. Here's something we don't talk about enough. You can have a kind heart and still say no. You can love someone and still not let them walk all over you. You can be open without being wide open. But for many people, especially those who grew up with unstable relationships or emotional manipulation, setting boundaries can feel like betrayal. Worse, it can feel unsafe. Let's use the story of a young woman, Nina's breaking point, as an example. Nina, a 27-year-old from Melbourne, used to be a yes person. Yes to covering shifts at work when she was exhausted. Yes to family members who guilt-tripped her into sending money she didn't have. Yes to a boyfriend who constantly disrespected her time, her feelings, and her body. One night, after yet another fight where she was told, "You're too sensitive. You're overreacting," Nina broke down in the shower and whispered to herself, "I can't keep doing this." That moment wasn't dramatic. It wasn't loud. But it was powerful. It was the moment she realized, I've never had boundaries. I've only had fear. Why boundaries feel scary. Many of us weren't raised with the language of boundaries. We were taught to be nice, not honest. To please, not protect ourselves. To avoid conflict at all costs, even if the cost was ourselves. So when we finally start drawing lines, saying, "I'm not okay with that," or "This doesn't work for me," it can feel wrong. Can feel mean. But boundaries aren't cruelty. They're clarity. Walls keep everyone out. Boundaries show people where the door is. Real-life case study of a young man, Elias, from Greece. Elias was a social worker in Athens. He was deeply empathetic, always available, always giving. But inside he was quietly burning out. Friends dumped their emotional baggage on him daily. Co-workers assumed he'd stay late. His partner expected him to suppress his needs, because he was the calm one. One day, after a panic attack sent him to the ER, Elias made a decision. He would stop confusing being needed with being loved. He started saying things like, "I care about you, but I can't carry this today. I want to help, but I also need rest." That tone doesn't feel respectful. Let's pause. And guess what? Some people were offended. Some people drifted away. But those who genuinely loved him stayed and started respecting him more. The truth, if they leave because you set boundaries, they were never truly there for you in the first place. They were there for the version of you that tolerated mistreatment. Your job is not to keep everyone comfortable. Your job is to keep yourself whole. Boundaries are not about punishing others. They're about protecting your peace. Let's reframe boundaries. Instead of seeing them as walls, see them as filters. They let love in, but only the kind of love that honors you. They keep toxicity out without you having to fight every time. Boundaries also don't require permission. You don't need someone to agree with your limits in order to keep them. Sometimes the strongest boundary is silence. Sometimes it's walking away. Sometimes it's just a calm, steady, "No, thank you." Here is an affirmations for boundaries. Let these sink in. I can be kind and still say no. I honor my needs even if others don't understand them. My peace is more important than pleasing people. I don't need guilt to guide me, I choose self-respect. If you're afraid they'll leave, ask yourself, what am I really afraid of? Is it rejection? Being alone? Disappointing someone? And then remind yourself, if you lose people by respecting yourself, they were never truly safe to begin with. Boundaries will sometimes cost you relationships, but never the right ones. Final takeaway. Here's the truth no one teaches us. People don't respect what you say you deserve. They respect what you require. If you want deeper love, safer connections, and a more peaceful mind, you must draw lines. Not to push people away, but to show them the right way to love you. If this chapter spoke to your soul, hit that subscribe button. You deserve to be surrounded by people who respect your boundaries instead of resenting them. Coming up next, loving yourself without apologies. This one is powerful, because once you build boundaries, it's time to fully, unapologetically own your worth. Chapter 7. Loving yourself without apologies. Have you ever apologized for being too emotional, too quiet, too loud, too much? Or maybe you've held your tongue when you wanted to speak up, afraid your honesty might make someone leave. Somewhere along the line, the world taught you to tone yourself down, to tuck parts of yourself away for the sake of being liked, to believe that your worth depended on how small you could make yourself in order to fit in someone else's life. But here's the truth. You were never meant to be silent about who you are. The power of loving yourself without apologies. Loving yourself unapologetically is the radical act of showing up fully, with your truth, your needs, your emotions, and your story, and knowing you deserve respect without shrinking first. It's choosing yourself even if it means someone else won't. It's saying no without guilt. It's looking in the mirror and finally seeing someone worthy, not someone waiting to be fixed. Real-life example. Catherine's turning point. Catherine, a 31-year-old actress from Brazil, used to apologize every time she asserted her boundaries. When a director made a comment about her weight, she laughed it off. When a partner criticized her ambition, she shrank into silence. When friends crossed lines, she'd rather withdraw than confront. Her entire life was shaped around being palatable. One day, in a quiet moment of reflection, she asked herself, "Why do I keep making myself smaller in rooms I've worked hard to be in?" The answer hit her hard. Because somewhere she believed that being herself wasn't enough. So she began the uncomfortable journey of reclaiming her voice. She started setting limits, gently but firmly. She began dressing for herself, speaking for herself, choosing for herself. And yes, some people walked away. But the people who stayed, they loved her without conditions. That was the beginning of freedom. Why we struggle to love ourselves. We don't struggle to love ourselves because we're broken. We struggle because for years we were told, directly or indirectly, that we had to earn love. Maybe it was a parent who withheld affection unless you performed. A teacher who praised your silence but not your spirit. A first love who only cared for the easy parts of you, not the real ones. So we began editing ourselves, making our light more dim, smoothing our edges, hiding our emotions. And over time we started to believe, I am only lovable when I'm easy to love. But self-love is not about being perfect. It's about being whole, messy, radiant, real. A real-life case study of a young man. Darnell, a 38-year-old father in Chicago, used to work overtime to be everyone's hero. He'd take care of his family, show up for his coworkers, fix everyone's problems, but never let anyone help him. He believed that his worth was in what he could give, not who he was. But after a burnout that led to a hospital visit, he realized no one had ever told him that he was allowed to rest, to feel, to ask for help, to say, I matter too. Darnell's healing started when he gave himself permission to receive love, especially from himself. Let's be honest. You might lose people when you start loving yourself. People who were only comfortable with you being small may pull away when you expand. But you won't lose the people who matter. The ones who love you without condition will rise to meet you. Here's what you'll gain. Peace that doesn't require permission. Relationships that feel safe, not performative. Confidence rooted in truth, not validation. A life that finally feels like yours. You'll stop apologizing for your tears, your joy, your no, your standards, your voice, your worth. Here is a healing takeaways. Self-love is not selfish. It is your foundation. It's the thing that tells you, I don't need to beg to be chosen. If someone can't respect me, they don't deserve my presence. My emotions are valid, my dreams are real, and my needs matter. You can love others without abandoning yourself. You can be soft without being small. You can be kind without being silent. Here is a self-love affirmations. Say these softly to yourself, or write them down. I am done apologizing for who I am. My voice matters. My needs matter. I matter. I can be loved without shrinking. The love I've been searching for starts with me. I am enough, loudly and without apology. Final words of this audiobook. Dear listener, if you've made it this far, it means something inside you is ready. Ready to stop begging. Ready to stop chasing. Ready to stop shrinking for crumbs of love. You are allowed to take up space. You are allowed to walk away. You are allowed to heal. And more than anything, you are allowed to love yourself, without apologies. If this audiobook gave you strength and it felt like a mirror and a warm hug, subscribe, like the video. Share this with someone still learning to choose themselves. This isn't the end. This is the beginning of a new chapter, where you stop waiting to be loved, and finally become the love you needed all along.